you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the Iron Lady sings, and that makes it official. You didn't even know you were turning in for opera, did you? You maybe were or maybe weren't. I don't know. Maybe that's your favorite part of the show. I mean, the jokes are pretty bad from this idiot host who runs this thing.
I want to listen to that. I want to listen to that clip every single day with my team, Chris. I just have to insert myself there without introducing myself. That is a motivating, uplifting Rocky Balboa.
I should sell it as one of those wake up call ring.
Amazing.
Something like that. Yeah, you can watch for the merch shop, folks. Anyway, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss, one of the TikTok, Facebook.com/Chris Voss, and LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. Today, we have two amazing young men. They're launching their business. I don't know if they're launching it. Let me not throw that word in, but we're going to find out about what they're doing at their company called Net2, the numeral 2, that is, Net2Phone Coaching. Jonah Fink, the president, and we also have, showing up with us on the show, Zali Ritholtz is the chief operating officer who joins us on the show there. Jonah Fink joins us. He's the president of Net2Phone Coaching, or Coach, I should say. I don't want to...
Net2Phone Coach.
Just inviting ads. I'm just making up ads to his name. It is Net2Phone Coach. Jonah is focused on the vision to disrupt technology and change the way the world communicates. As a member of the original sales team at the inception of Net2Phone, Jonah offers his business-savvy mindset in making it succeed. Jonah helped drive and execute many of the company's investment areas and strategy pivots and has been instrumental in helping build the industry's most active partner program in global markets. Zali brings over 15 years of experience in telecom and the know-how of founding and managing a successful hosted PBX startup company to the Net2Phone organization. His creative and analytical mindset enabled him to spearhead the growth of their product offerings, both nationwide and international. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. How are you?
Great. Fantastic. Thanks for having us.
Well, thanks for coming. Give us the .coms, the .wherevers. Where do you want people to get to know you guys better on the internet?
First, take a look at us at our what's called our parent website, www.net2phone.com. I say first, Chris, because that is really our footprint, our full portfolio of Net2Phone, which is cloud communications, optimizing your cloud communications of businesses for all sizes. But the conversation today is net2phone.com/coach, where you can learn specifically about our coach release, which we're going to talk about this afternoon. And at net2phone.com/coach, you learn more about the product, more about the details, and most importantly, an online demo.
Are those all the socials and stuff you want to throw out there, Zali, or anything more?
Nope, Jonah's got it covered. That's the proper URLs.
You guys don't want people going to your Instagram or your Snapchat?
I don't want to bring down the internet. I don't think Zali and I want to bring down the internet.
All right.
That's not our goal. We're trying to be coaches.
I'll start with Jonah. Give us a 30,000 overview of what's inside there with the company, why you launched it, et cetera, et cetera.
Let's first start with the parent company, which I love to do. Our founder, our chairman, Howard Jonas, who always lives day by day at the undertone of David versus Goliath. And here he is again, really as our backbone and our spine, for Zali and I to build Net2Phone Coach for the marketplace. We've been with IDT, the parent company, now for many years, building and executing on go-to-market strategies for cloud-based communications. And again, the undertone of this interview, here we go again at IDT, of building a coach-based platform of just making work better.
I was just asking if you want to jump in here, Zali, to give us your info on the dealio.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Coach is an exciting offering that we believe is going to enhance businesses who are using Net2Phone and outside of Net2Phone, which really helps businesses understand what's going on with their employees. People have remote employees that are, I would say, all over the globe. They could be anywhere. And at any time, they're not exactly sure what's going on, I would say, with their businesses, with the employees that are working for them. So what Coach is doing is it's actually analyzing the communications and the activity of different employees. And what it's looking at is their calls, their emails, whatever the employer/employee wants to be analyzed. And it's giving it the capability to have AI kind of look at it both from a quality and a quantity perspective, so that you could take a look at it and say, hey, number one is, what are my employees doing at any time? Number two is, how well are they doing? AI is able to score the employees on their activities and to say, based off of the specific things that the company is interested in, AI is able to go ahead and answer questions based off of that to say, is this something that, there's specific things that I care about, and it can answer those type of questions and really get them to understand how their employees are doing in general. So it's an opportunity both to see activity as well as to say, how can an employee become better? Why is one employee doing better than another? AI is able to analyze that. And that's where Coach really comes in with all the enhancements that are coming in, because Coach is able to be a solution that really helps employers understand their employees and how they're doing, as well as it gives the employees the opportunity to shine, to show where they're doing well, and to show them how to improve.
That's awesome. Now, is there a minimum company size that this is applicable to, or what is your target audience, target market, target client?
There's no doubt, and I'll just touch on it, and certainly Zali will add that, Net2Phone, by offering such a mature platform application as Coach, with its own real sexy dashboard, which goes through some of the presence and the activity and the learnings that Zali just touched on, there's no doubt it may be more of an upmarket solution for those businesses that are certainly in growth mode. They're looking to drive efficiency. So I think in that conversation, numbers matter. So I think the canned answer, businesses of all sizes, I don't know. I think those businesses that have teams, that have sales, support, billing, operations, and groups, that they want to have questions that they want to answer, that they're up at night, that you interview some of these business leaders, Chris, and they don't have answers. And the data is not telling the story, and Coach does.
Yeah. Would you call this a SaaS product then?
Yeah, absolutely.
I call it a disruptive SaaS product because there's going to be a month-over-month fee for this usage and these learnings essentially that we're handing over in Coach. But it's a disruptive one, and one that we're really, handing over the keys. It's a custom application for each business. And again, some of the answers they want answered in their business.
And do you want to jump in here, Zali, with anything to add to that?
I think, no, Jonah covered it well.
What was the proponent behind starting this company? What need did you see that needed to be filled? And was AI like a really big thing where we can utilize this to save time and energy and, help people achieve better?
Chris, thanks for the questions. Over the past few years, Net2Phone has done a tremendous job where now we have over 500,000 users every morning waking up and using our cloud communication portfolio that Zali and I went to market with very successfully. And now, Howard, we very often talk about our base and how we constantly at Net2Phone, like IDT, we're bringing more and more value. And we're bringing more value to our customers with a product like Coach. We have an embedded B2B customer base that today, Chris, they're really enjoying our cloud communications, voice, video, messaging, and a very modern application to move legacy antiquated systems to the cloud with Net2Phone. Now we have, Chris, an embedded base of customers that we could talk about Coach. And Coach now is all about the learning. That now that you have our tools sort of in the tool belt, what's the storyline? Coach now provides those storylines.
Now, is this something that's targeted directly towards remote work, hybrid work, or in-office work, or all three?
So I want to touch on that, is that it's a big deal. Today, remote work for U.S. employees are like 14%. You're walking on the sidewalk. People think it's like a 3, 5, 6, 8. It's currently at 14% for U.S. employees for remote work. Over the next few years, they project that to grow to 22%. So not only is it like here to stay, but it's sort of here to command. And then how are we going to fulfill? And this is the genius of Howard. How are we going to fulfill that need? Now that we have remote work, that's not just an idea, but now it's a platform. How are we going to get better, not worse? We all know the JP Diamond speech to JP Morgan and what he said about employees not being accessible, employees not being present, employees not necessarily filling that role. Our goal, again, not done through a stick, but through embracement, is to empower both the employee and the employer, and to actually build that bridge that through this remote, strange, hybrid remote workforce has sort of built a spider web, in our opinions, of confusion.
Yeah. I mean, we saw a lot of interesting things during COVID and the beginning of this whole remote sort of trend where you had, I remember there was some IT guys that were working for three different companies at the same time, and they weren't supposed to be, according to probably the rules of the organizations, but they were doing it and they were taking advantage of it. I know there's a lot of people who are pretty flippant at, I know one person in I won't say which government they work for, but they're pretty much doing nothing all day. And I'm not being one of these people. I should probably make sure that that's not political. They just aren't. And they've been doing that for a long time. And so they just, and part of it is whoever's managing them or leading them isn't giving them work either. They're just kind of lost in the system. And so knowing what your employees are up to, it's kind of real important in today's world, especially if you're remote, especially if you're hybrid, even in the office. I mean, one of my problems has always been, going back to the 80s and 90s, is, making sure people at work at their desk. And with our large companies, we didn't have cell phones. We banned cell phones when they started, but we didn't have social media yet when we had our large company with hundreds of employees. And so now I can't imagine, every time I walk into a place, like I go into 7-Eleven or a coffee shop or something like that, the employees are always on the phone. They're just like chewing gum going, what do you want here? I'm trying to answer.
But Chris, walk into corporate. I hate to be a little bit salty in this conversation, but let's go. Let's start sprinkling. Walk into corporate, I'll say it's worse. These are libraries.
Wow.
And in many, many occasions, these are libraries. And it's not because it's bad. I would say, quite frankly, and we're going a little bit off topic, I actually think business probably got better because of all this. But let coach be a catalyst for enablement, for improvement, for cohesiveness between employer and, because again of this hybrid remote workforce, there's been one word: disengagement.
I actually think that in a weird way, coach is actually a tool for employees to show how well they're doing. Because what's interesting is, if you think about it, the people that you're describing who are kind of playing the game, those are the people who, will show up as flagged on a product like Coach. Whereas the people who are really working and doing a great job like they should be doing and are having really great engagements with customers and having those conversations, they're going to come up as rock stars, and their employers are going to see them as rock stars, and they're going to be like calling out saying, wow. And part of Coach is actually to kind of give a scorecard where you could see how you compare versus other people in your departments. And that will be a motivating catalyst for people to say, I want to do even better. How can I do better? So I think what it does is it really gives the capability for
to set. Go ahead, Jonah. Sorry, but to set goals. And I want to talk about Zali. I want to talk about Zali and I a little bit off corporate. Zali and I both run. We're both runners. Okay. So when we're not doing the work, we're running. We're trying to run. Really, Zali got into running well before I did. Well before. And he would come in, and I think he was using an application. I'll call it out, Map My Run, I think, at the time. And he showed me the application and what he achieved just by starting to run as another objective, for himself. And I'm a bit of a competitive guy. Zali's a bit of a competitive. And I'm like, let's go. And I started using Map My Run, the same application. And Zali and I both share our runs. Zali's still a much better runner than I am, but I think he'll say, I've come a bit. And the reason why I've come a bit was because I wanted to improve. I noticed a gap that I didn't have. It's the same undertone. I apologize for interrupting, Zali, that this dashboard, I'm already using it. It's one of its first customers where I'm logging in and seeing in this dashboard, Chris, where some people in the organization, in my company, are approaching a certain topic better, are taking a certain sequence better. are making more calls. At the same time, being able to be guided by transcription, live transcription that engages coaching analytics. Zali, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think from that perspective, Jonah, it's interesting because what we've seen firsthand, as Jonah said, we're eating our own product, where basically what we're seeing firsthand is that the employees who are on this is not a hidden tool. This is not like a tool that we don't want our employees to know they're on. It's the opposite. It's they know they're on it. And they understand the feedback that it's giving, and they're seeing that feedback to kind of get them to be motivated to do better. So what we found is that as employees would go on to coach, we saw, number one, their quantities getting higher. Like the phone calls, let's say the sales team, the phone calls getting higher. The support people, we find that they're talking in a more positive tone, I would say, and really calling out, making sure, did I solve issues? We have the amazing support team. Net2Phone staff, in my opinion, is the best. They're the core of what made Net2Phone a success, what makes Net2Phone a success. We have the best team. There's no question. But from our perspective, what we're finding is that it even enhances them better. And what it does is it makes managers really have talking points to look at and say, hey, I noticed that this person's score on this is looking, slightly down. What is making their score go down? And you could have that conversation. So what's cool about it is in Coach, if you could only visualize it for a second, you're logging in as an admin and you're creating for each department a custom questions, it could be plural, that you care specifically about that department. Let's say your division specifically wants to know if during the call they offered this new promotion that you're offering for your business. Some other company's not going to have that, but you specifically want to make sure your reps are doing that. So you ask part of your question, did the rep offer this promotion? And literally on the dashboard, you're seeing that scorecard for every single one, and they know they're getting scored on this. And this is something that's very specific to you, and yet Coach will be analyzing that for you.
If you're an automobile dealership, you could type into this wonderful dashboard that we're calling Coach for Net2Phone that we're describing. If you're an automobile dealership, you could type into the platform, why in my Chevrolet shop did I sell more Camaro than I did Trailblazer? And it will be able to answer that question because it's getting smarter from the conversations.
I like the concept of this. Now how does it monitor what different aspects does it use to monitor the employee? I see a few things here where I think they're using a system on maybe their phone or computer. How does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, listen, number one is from a phone perspective and a communications perspective, Net2Phone provides communications for businesses. The desktop phone or the mobile app or the desktop app, the meetings that you're having, the video conferencing meetings you're having, we have, SMS, intercompany chat, all that stuff runs over already Net2Phone. We already give that as a solution, and you're able to go ahead and enable that per employee. And you could enable that. And now it's because we're owning those communications, you could funnel whatever different communications you want or don't want through Coach. Now the employee is going to want to funnel their activities through Coach because, like I said, that's going to make their quantity go up. It's going to make their numbers go up. It's going to make their activity go up. If they're not funneling it through that, it's not going to be there. But then also you could enable it. Once again, the employee's enabling this where, for example, let's say your company uses G Suite for Google. You could go ahead and log in, and each employee would do it. They authenticate their email in the product, which allows the coach to go ahead and pull in the emails and to analyze the emails. But this is, of course, with the employee's permission so that they're able to go ahead and start logging that activity and get their stuff scored as well.
I noticed on the website there's a partner program. And is that partners for your clients specifically, or do you work with other affiliates?
So we work with thousands at this point, and this is why we're so excited. We're not just another company in a garage, although we do tons in a garage also. We get work done, is we go to market. And we're in a position to bring subscriptions of our solutions today at net2phone.com. Today at net2phone.com, we could bring them, what Zali just mentioned, a full cloud communication suite for their business, for their voice, for their messaging needs, for their video and AI needs. We're a full cloud one-stop shop. we're now even further a one-stop shop by now offering coach within our platform suite. That's so exciting for the base of customers, the thousands of customers that we serve day in and day out.
Now, I see on the website that it's got several different aspects of the product. There's a Unite business communication solutions where you have all-in-one unified communications, voice, video, messaging, call center essentials with core tools. Tell us how some of that applies. How does that apply? And it monitors all that sort of data. So basically, the employees need to utilize the system so that the AI can monitor them.
That's spot on.
Step one, modernize our phone system with Net2Phone. Step one, modernize your phone system with Net2Phone. We have the calls, we have the recordings. We'll be able to track the messages and the videoing because we're a core suite provider today. Step two is, wow, an additional topping of coach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would say that, interesting enough, if you take a look at our website, which you are obviously, you'll see that we actually have a home for all different types of businesses. Like you're describing right now, you're describing Net2Phone UCaaS, which is one of our solutions, which is made for, mainstream businesses, your accounting firms, your law firms, your everything firms, where they have it. You could have a sales team, you could not, but you have all that stuff. And it's really just automating so much of what's out there. So it's giving you the capabilities to summarize, manage your phone calls, take notes for you, log them into your CRM or something like that so that you don't have to take those notes. It's just productivity, saving you time. Mm-hmm. We also have what's called a CCaaS solution, which you'll see on our website as well, which is meant for contact centers. This is if you have a larger scale contact center, a sales team, a support team, queues, all that type of stuff. We have a full-blown contact center solution. Then on top of those, you could have coach sitting there, and coach could layer onto either of those solutions and add on to all those different communications and have it analyzing it, giving you these deep analytics. And interesting enough, just for you to understand, Chris, is that we're so in depth with the AI world that we're even part of our solution, which bundles together with this, is we have even an AI agent concept, which is we're even taking businesses and we're offering them where AI is coming in and actually handling some of these phone calls. And why this is cool is because as coaches analyzing these conversations and they're coaching, it's also learning about what needs to be done. And you could start augmenting in AI to actually handle some of these communications for you as well as coach learns off of this. We're really, as Net2Phone, we're a provider which really is helping you not only from your communications perspective, but we're looking to help you improve your employees to do better. And we're even helping you improve your employees by augmenting them in even with some AI first response.
And I'd like to talk about one real scenario that I did with the coach platform. And today, and we want to thank you, Chris, for the time that you're spending with us. It's all about the release of coach. Really, again, for those to visit net2phone.com/coach to just register and sign up for a free online demo. That's our introduction to the marketplace, to really get to know businesses, to allow all of us to become better. I'm a user now of Coach. Mm-hmm. And because Net2Phone, we have many valued members all over the world. We're an international company. I'd like to tell you, I put my sales team in Costa Rica onto Coach. Oh. And now I'm able to see who's making the most amount of phone calls. I'll give you their names. Why is Carlos selling more than David? Mm-hmm. And really be able to become their coach and to give them a call and say, listen, I know today was a little bit of a lighter day. Let's talk about that. Let's try to make things better. Mm-hmm. I noticed you weren't able to book a lot of demos today for your prospects. Let's talk about that. Let's analyze that. Why is David doing a little bit better in that area? So again, to sort of eat your own dog food, Coach is up. Coach is released. And business today that really enjoy the Net2Phone portfolio could start enjoying Coach.
I love that. As one of the problems I always had with is knowing when an employee goes off the rails, and either something at home is going on with them, divorce, marriage, kids. The one thing about having salespeople, which I've always run sales organizations, is when they're hot, they're hot. But sometimes things happen to them psychologically, like I said, home stuff, whatever. Sometimes they get in a funk. Sometimes they get off. I remember I had one of my salespeople come into my office. He's, Chris, I can't motivate myself to sell anymore. And I'm like, why? And he goes, so I went from, $2,500 a month working for your competitor. Now I make almost 20 grand a month. I caught up on my child support. I bought a new car, bought a new computer. I got a new house. I got everything I've been lacking for since I've been broke. And, he had 6 kids that couldn't pay his child support and alimony. Got all caught up. And he goes, now I don't have anything to motivate me because I'm not broke anymore. Like,
and I think in the year 2000, where are we? We're about to hit May, Chris, for 2025. I think we could all raise our hand on this podcast and for the world and say we could get better. We could get better. And I think it's time for corporate and for business on Main Street to raise their hand and say we could get better. There is this concept of, people being out to the bar for lunch for a little bit too long. Yeah. And it's going on. And we don't like to talk about it because it's not the political thing to say. We're not looking to be political. We're looking to be enablers.
I actually think, Chris, also from an interesting perspective, what Jonah just mentioned about out to lunch, traditionally, let's just say, you have a quota from a quantity perspective. So let's just say you said, I want X employee to do a certain amount of calls a day. And, you could rate a call, whatever. So in the traditional format, what would happen is that you would have a report that shows how many calls somebody made. And let's just say you have a rock star person. And let's just say they make X amount of calls, but they realize they could game the system. They could make more phone calls really quick from 9 to 2. And they realize you're only looking at that at that overall number. So then after 2 o'clock, they're gone for the day. Yeah. You don't even know they're gone for the day because you're just seeing that overall number. You're like, hey, this is great. But really, you could get so much more out of them. With Coach, it's literally showing, hey, here's activity based off of the hourly stuff. And it's calling out the stuff for you. And it's calling out what's going on, their performance on all those calls. And not only that, but from the quality perspective, like I said, it's looking at it and saying, was this an actual proper call? So people have, you mentioned it as well. People do funny things. They'll make phone calls and maybe they're talking to a friend or something, but that's counting as a call on the system, Here, if AI is analyzing it, it's going to say, what's going on here? This is not exactly making much sense. And vice versa to the other side, and this is the part that I'm most excited about, because this is where I see it shine, is where the great employees get even greater from this, and they're empowered even more from this. And that's the part that I'm seeing. We're having very well thought out conversations about, hey, why is this score not as high? I literally have people, the really great employees are always concerned about their score. So they're calling and saying, why did I get rated a 4 out of 5, instead of a 5 out of this? And we have that conversation, and that conversation causes them to do even better because they start saying, oh, I could have done better. I could have been more polite. I could have.
And that solidifies the bridge. That solidifies the bridge between employee and employer. That this Net2Phone Coach is a tool for both the employee and the employer. The employee could get better. And what was great on the story that Zali just told was he didn't mention when we asked the person, what do you think your goals should be? We asked the employee. We asked them, how many demos or how many positive qualified calls do you think you could produce per day? And now in the dashboard of Coach, there's a feature where you could set that goal. Like, again, that analogy that I gave, map my run. Today, I want to run 3.5 miles. Today, I want to make 90 calls. And I want to be able to produce, 6 vetted qualified demos through Coach. And so being able to, again, be that core Net2Phone.com customer, if you will, and then to help graduate with Coach, business is better. What's the short ending to the story? Now I have my Costa Rica team now on. I'm going to put my USA team on it next. Next week, my USA team is going on Coach. Why? Because we want to get better.
Now, the one point I was making there was that knowing when an employee, some of my top salesmen, they make me a lot of money. And when they go off the rails, it costs me a lot of money. Like you'll see their sales dip and everything else. So sometimes it can take days, weeks to figure it out. Sometimes you don't notice till the whole end of the month. You go, what the fuck happened last month? And like I said, salespeople can get all sorts of psychology issues stuck in their head. There's issues with, They have some home issues, marital problems, whatever it is, maybe money problems. There's all sorts of stuff that can get into their head. If they're focused on that rather than selling, or it's interfering with their ability to sell, it's an issue. The other thing I like about your guys' product, and so knowing when I can jump on that employee and touch base with them and say, hey, it looks like we're falling off today, or we're falling off on a couple of calls, or whatever your SaaS system software gives me the data. And then I can get right on it instead of losing, all that time and money in management. Because, a lot of times as CEO, I have to play psychologist.
Do you know how many cycles today in corporate are people guessing? And that's why meeting invites are up like 10 to 1, because everyone's inviting each other about topics about, excuse my French, going to the bathroom. And it's because people just don't know. Yeah. And coach is one of those refreshing tools to say, now now here's your team. Now you guys can both improve, both these departments of employees and employers.
Mm-hmm. And I also, I want to call this out because I think this is one of the most powerful pieces, but I also like the idea that, businesses are evolving over time. And if you take a look at a business and you say, what's important for me right at this moment to hone in on might not be the same thing that's important to me 6 months from now. And what's cool about Coach is you could retarget it to focus on those specific things at that specific moment in such an easy format. You don't need to be like a tech savvy, crazy person to do this. You're logging in and you're writing the question that you specifically want for that department. And now Coach is working for you. And Coach is working for you on every single communication to ensure that you're logging that. So this is giving you the capability to properly manage each department the way you want to at that specific time on what you're focusing on. And I think that's a critical piece, because there's a lot of tools out there that have these generalist, they hone in on, let's say, one specific communication, and they have a generalist approach to it. But the secret sauce here is really being able to analyze and focus on these communications and these activities and honing in on what you as your business specifically care about. Not some generalist term that maybe you want to hear or not, but really what is very important to your managers and your departments at that specific time.
The other thing I like about your product, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it looks like I could sell this to my employees in saying, this is how we can measure your productivity and know whether, you're the best employee we have, and reward you for it, with either raises or bonuses. A lot of employees have a problem because some of the best employees get overlooked because they're usually not the noisiest in my experience. The noisiest ones are the ones coming to my, like I used to have this rule. If any employee came to my office, started kissing my butt and say I was the greatest leader and I was the greatest CEO of all time and they love working for me and all that sort of stuff, the first thing I do when I leave my office, I tell my executive secretary, hey, go pull the numbers on Bob. And sure enough, it would be like a tip off that he was fucking around. But my best employees were always the quietest ones. They usually weren't the cheerleader rah-rah type people. They just kept their head down, and I would notice when I walk around my office, which employees were, at 4:45, they were in the racing position, like for a sprint standing by the door, just ready to just go at 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. And then
we call those people, Chris, the lone wolves, right? They have their program. Yeah. They're the lone wolves. They maybe make 4 phone calls a month and they hit their target. Yeah. That's not the majority of the world. I wish as a business owner it was. It's not. Mm-hmm. And this is an enablement tool. Go ahead, Chris, on your question for the entire department.
So is that true that if, I can feel the benefit for me as an employee, because some people might be like, oh, you're spying on me. But the benefit to me as an employee is I can show that I'm doing well and I probably have a less chance of being fired, because if we're entering recession here. We just got the report today of the first quarter of negative times. And of course, consumer sentiment is there as well. So there was layoffs to come. There's layoffs going on right now too. And when that turn happens, and companies start looking, okay, who do we fire? And sadly, sometimes they just fire 10,000 people or whatever. But at least you can have the option with this where as a CEO, I could look at my employees and go, who are the ones who aren't performing well enough? Let's let them go. And let's make sure we keep the top performers, because sometimes in these mass firings, they fire some of the best people they have, and they've invested the most education into training and leading and time at company and understanding what the products are. And it creates a lot of problems if you fire the wrong people.
Yeah, I mean, I would say on that, listen, there was a lot of talk at some point about people looking into whether people are working, how to look into them, and different methodologies. And what we were looking at is we were saying, hey, wait 1 second. We have the tools here already that does this. We have the tools that are calling out exactly like you said, Chris, where it's calling out this person is an amazing employee. This person is not only continuously going above and beyond on what we're asking from communications, from taking care of customers. The ratings are there. We see them trying. We see their efforts. Their coaching that they're getting, they're doing better. And this is completely not a spy tool. It's not about a spy tool. This is about the opposite. This is about employees being able to show, like you said, and prove that they are the best. And really, it shows their efforts, and it shows how they're improving and moving forward using these ratings. And what's cool is, like I said, it could hone in on specific things with these people. I think it's 100%, the direction, like you said, from an employee perspective, that it is something that will really be able to show employees, making them shine and making them, call out who is doing the best. And that's the top thing, because we want employees to be able to show how great they're doing.
Now, do employees have access to see how other employees are doing and how they're measuring up comparatively?
This is the tool actually has the capabilities where different businesses are going to want to have that versus not. Some people will find that productive, some people not. What we have for Coach is the idea where you could create that scorecard comparison and let them be able to kind of compare each other from that end to be able to see, how well somebody's doing, if that's what the employer wants, if that's what the company wants. Goals-based thing.
It'd be interesting because, like I say, my sales boards that I had, we would always have one of those whiteboards where people would track their sales back in the day. And so having the salespeople see how other salespeople were doing and competing with them actually drove them. Because,
healthy competition, right?
Healthy competition, yeah. And a lot of great salespeople and I think maybe good employees are competitive. And, they see that, hey, Bob's doing really well and Bob's working the phones, and Bob's doing the thing. And, some of my top salespeople, sometimes they slack off because they'd see the lower guys selling, and then one of the new guys will start catching them, and they're like, wait, the new guys catch? I better get back on the phones and rock and roll. So I like what's the word I'm looking for? The transparency of it all.
I think that's critical. I think transparency is the critical thing here. This is not about some hidden tool that's behind the scenes that you don't want people to know. The proper way to do this is they should be aware this is to get the most from it. This is the way to do it. The best way is for them to be able to see it and to be able to know it's there. And that is their motivating factor to do better.
Motivate your employees to do better. What haven't we talked about that we should cover in getting people educated on this software and what you guys are doing?
Chris, once again, we really encourage your listeners to learn more at www.net2phone.com, where you're going to see our full suite of cloud communication solutions, and www.net2phone.com/coach for that specific page on Coach and what we are releasing and what we're coming out with, and more to come.
This should be interesting. I mean, it should really enhance remote work and maybe make remote work last longer, right? I mean, it's, some people are really having challenges with it. Some companies don't like it. You've heard rumblings from, I think you mentioned Jamie Dimon from, was it Goldman Sachs?
I'll call it out right now. Coach will increase revenue and decrease churn. Coach is going to increase revenue and decrease churn for a business.
And it tells the story of remote workers doing their thing, meaning it shows productivity. It gives the answer that if someone's working remote, they could show their productivity, they could show, their value, and people could say, I don't know what's going on. No, this gives the capability for the employees to show all that they're doing and have that stand that they're really being productive and doing a great job.
Is there any future announcements or things you guys are working on you can talk about that Net2Phone Coach is doing? Anything new coming up?
I would say always, this is the newest on the plate right now, Net2Phone and Net2Phone Coach. But that's the value of this David versus Goliath Net2Phone story, this leader in cloud communications, that we're always coming out with new solutions. Coach is really it. It's that complete suite of phone calls, video, and messaging, and getting smarter and getting better with Net2Phone Coach.
All right. So give people the final pitch out. How can they onboard with you guys? How can they reach out? I do notice it starts around $49.99 to get started. So that seems pretty inexpensive. Give us the final pitch out.
Yeah, $49.99 to get started, both with Net2Phone and Net2Phone Coach. You could contact us today by simply going to our website, www.net2phone.com and www.net2phone.com/coach to learn more, again, about our full suite menu of cloud communications and how we are now enjoying that additional top layer of Net2Phone Coach.
Zali, anything you want to throw in there as we go out?
I think keep an eye on everything we're doing on Net2Phone and Net2Phone Coach. I think you're going to constantly see updates and upgrades and great activity that's going to keep on adding value both to the employer and to the employee. We're all about making businesses better and communicating better, and we look forward to keep on helping our customers.
Yeah. If AI can enhance productivity in the way you guys are utilizing it, that can save business owners so much money. It can save employees jobs. It can really enhance, the worst thing an employee can do is really work hard and not be rewarded or recognized for it. I know I'm working harder than Bob. He's over watching OnlyFans every day, all day long on his computer over there, and I'm doing the work. And, I've seen employees do that. They'll be on YouTube, just watching YouTube videos.
Yeah, it's just no good. It's just no good. No good for productivity. And Chris, we appreciate your show and your platform for educating your audience this afternoon.
Thanks, Mountis, for tuning in. Thanks to you guys for being here. I certainly appreciate it. Be sure to go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss1 on the TikTokity, and Chris Voss, Facebook.com, I think it is. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time. And that's